My name is Ridley and welcome to my kitchen. This is my kitchen, how I found it. We are on our last stop in Spain today and we're going to be going to Catalana, and specifically we're going to be doing a dish that is named after the area, which is Crema Catalana. Fun fact about this one is that the origins of this go back to medieval times. There are actually 2 cookbooks in the medieval era which have this recipe in it. It is known as Crema Catalana or Crema de Sant Josep, which is the cream of Saint Joseph, and it's conveniently used as a dish commonly on Saint Joseph's Day, which is March 19th every year. The more you learn and the more you know. Main differences between this and a French creme brulee, because they are very similar. It is a custard dish, but where creme brulee is going to be based off of heavy cream, this uses whole milk instead. And creme brulee tends to just be a vanilla flavor. This will be vanilla, but it will also have some lemon and some orange peel to give it just a little bit of citrus. Aside from that, very similar. We're going to be taking some egg yolks. We're going to be making a custard of that with some of that whole milk. And then instead of using the heavy cream, we're actually going to be thickening it with a bit of cornstarch. So that's also a bit of a change from a creme brulee. But aside from that, you've just got vanilla bean. I've got vanilla bean pod right here, along with some cinnamon sticks that we're going to add a little bit of some spice to it. This sugar here is going to go into the creme brulee itself to sweeten it up, so this is for the custard. And then I've got a little extra on the side here. This is what we're going to put on top, and just like with a creme brulee, torch it at the end to give it a nice burned, crispy crust and a little bit of that nice kind of, not, I guess, burnt flavor, but yeah, the caramelized sugar flavor over the top that's going to mix with the citrus and the cinnamon and the vanilla. Now, prep-wise, citrus for this, we are going to be pulling the zest from it, and a lot of recipes say get the zest without the pith, and other recipes said to grab the zest with the pith, and it was emphasized. I tend to like less pith than more pith because it has a lot of bitterness to it, and I've had some situations where the bitterness overwhelmed it, especially a limeade recipe I used where it tried to blend it all together, and I couldn't drink it. So I'm going to be going a little bit on the lower side for the pith, but there will be some pith included. And then for the eggs, we're going to separate out the yolks for these 4 eggs. The whites I will find something to use with, but we only need the yolks for this recipe. And then as far as the last prep step for the vanilla bean pod here, we're just going to split it down the middle, scrape out the seeds, and then the seeds and the pod are going to be going into the mixture in order to flavor it, but then we can pull the pod out at the end and the seeds will still be in there for flavoring and that fun little vanilla specks. All right, let me get some things out of the way. I'm gonna wash my hands and get all prepped for getting all of this ready, but it's gonna be just a couple steps over here and then we can move over to the stove. Quick cook on the custard, and then the biggest part of this recipe is another chill step for about 3 hours. Now, for the ingredients themselves, I am going to put the eggs over here for just a second because I don't want to get eggs all over my hand while I'm moving or working with everything else. And then I'll use the plate here for the citrus. Now, I do have this, which is a bar tool, so it's oftentimes used in different drinks. This way creates a very fine zest. So this is the tool that you would use if you didn't want any pith. But this one right here is used to get strips of citrus and is oftentimes used to get those twists of orange on the top of drinks. So I'm going to try this first to see if I'm able to get a decent strip with a little bit of pith on it. I think that would be the best way to infuse, get a good amount of flavor, but also not have just huge chunks of the pith. If this doesn't work, I have a standard peeler here. I don't think that this is going to be very accurate when it comes to trying to reduce pith, but will absolutely work when it comes to actually getting the peel off. So we'll see which works better. Now this one here. It is not pulling a lot of pith away. I'm getting a really good amount of zest here, but absolutely none of the pith. So I think that this would again, be a great tool if you are minimizing the pith. But given that so many of them specified having some of it there, I am going to use the peeler for it, but it was worth a try. So with this one, I think I just want to be very careful. I have seen some pretty rough accidents come from using a peeler. When it slips, it can definitely just slice through the top layer of skin. Actually, having this little groove caused by the other one is a great starting point for me to get a really good strip of citrus off of this. All right, so as far as the amount of the citrus peel, it said the amount from about 1/3 to 1/2 of a lemon. So I'm gonna go right about 2 there. This is going to be just over 1/3, but a little under half. So we'll have that for now. I'll probably make lemonade with that later. The actual fruit inside of both of these isn't included in the recipe, it's just the rind. So make sure you have something planned for it. The orange I'm gonna eat, lemon, probably gonna be a drink. Now this one, I don't have that groove to it, so I'm gonna be very careful starting. And that was more zest than pith. So maybe a little deeper on this one and see if we can't get some more of the white up. This is a Caracara orange, so it doesn't have an incredibly thick pith, but I got it because I think it has more flavor in the fruit. And I knew that I was gonna be eating it afterwards, so pick your battles. And that is about half an orange, but because it's not getting as deep, I'm gonna do one more strip on it, and then we'll say that that's good on the zest or the citrus peel. So I have got some orange, I have got some lemon, those off to the side. Then let's do the vanilla bean next. So for this one, I just need a sharp knife, preferably one that is smaller and more maneuverable, because you're gonna be working in a little bit more tight quarters here. This vanilla bean is probably a little drier than I would like. Usually when you get them, they've still got some moisture left in them, so it's easier to cut through. This is a little dried, but I am still able to get through there. And then you can see right in here that there is kind of a darker line right in the middle. And so this is the actual vanilla bean seeds, and this is where you get a lot of that vanilla flavor. So this is gonna go in along with the vanilla pods, but the seeds will then be able to stay in after we pull the pods out towards the end, giving it a really nice creamy texture without chunks. I need another little bowl. Oh, I thought I had. All right, so. All right. And then once again, if you can get one that is not quite as desiccated, you'll have a little bit easier time with the softer walls of it to get these seeds out. But this is working all right. We're definitely able to get the seeds out. And it should still have all of the flavor we need. All right, so vanilla bean pod has been scraped and de-seeded. We'll have that off to the side there. And then for eggs, there are a lot of gadgets and things around for dealing with eggs and egg white separation from them, I've always found that the easiest way for me is just to use my hands. So a lot of people do not like this. I get it. I really get it. It doesn't feel, it's not what I would say a lot of people think is pleasant, but it is the most efficient way that I've found to always get rid of the yolk. I've never had any broken yolks with it this way. And especially with the second one moving forward, the white that's already on my hand can help to make the next one not stick as much. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's because they like to stay together. Like this right here is a single bit of the white that's around the yolk. And I think that because the bit that's already on my hand isn't from the same stuff, that it's not... Woo. Haha. I had a broken one. That's so exciting. That's why you should never make broad statements like that. That is all the yolks separated. So once again, for this recipe, we've got the yolks here. Now with the whites, I've sometimes used whites to make a meringue, but because I have added the yolks to it, from my understanding, that will completely ruin the ability to turn this into a meringue. So I'll have to figure something out with it. If anything, this would be a really easy way to make a very, very close approximation to an egg white omelet, if you're not too opposed to a tiny bit of yolk in there. Will work basically the same way, so don't let that go to waste. That is all of our prep. So I am going to gather this all together, move it over to the stove. We're going to make a quick custard, pour it back into these ramekins here, and then let them cool, set, and we should have tasty, tasty Spanish custard. And with that, we have everything ready to actually get started on the cooking side of things. Very, very easy set of steps here. So we're just going to add the milk directly into a saucepan. I'm going to put this over medium heat. And then to that, we are going to add the citrus peel / pith if you're doing pith, the cinnamon sticks, and then I'm also going to have the vanilla bean pod and any of those seed bits. And then the goal of this is we want to heat it up, allow all those flavors to infuse, but you do not want to let the milk come to a boil because it will burn. So you want it to be warm, you want it to have time to absorb and infuse those flavors. Little bubbles around the outside are a fine indicator of this, but you definitely don't want to get all the way to the full boil. Now, while that's heating up, we can get everything else ready. We've got our egg yolks here, and then we've also got the sugar and the cornstarch. And so we are going to add the sugar directly onto the egg yolks, and I'm just going to whisk these together to give them kind of a nice pale yellow color. Just use a fork for it. You can also use a little whisk. If you've got one of those smaller whisks, you can use that, or if you want to go into a bigger bowl and use a bigger whisk, I just find a fork works fairly well. And the goal here is you want to break it up so you don't have any lumps of sugar together. You don't necessarily need to go as deep of a pale yellow as you would look if you were trying to, say, whip these and really get them into a baked goodness, but you do want to break up any clumps that are in there. Now for the cornstarch, I am going to add just a splash of water to this so that we can make a slurry of it and sort of a cornstarch paste first before we add it into the eggs. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to prevent it from clumping up. But I can probably use this same fork for it. We're gonna find out if this is a poor life decision. All right, so it seems to be doing a pretty good job of slurrying up. I'm just gonna once again try and break down any of the little clumps that may have formed, but I am not seeing a lot of clumping in this, which once again, very important to do cold water in this instead of doing hot water, because the hot water will potentially activate some of the starch, and that's what causes the thickening later. So we've got that. We're gonna mix that in here. And then this together is going to be our egg base to make the custard. Now the next step on this one is a little worrying for me. I haven't done it in a long time, but I have actually done something similar, so it's tempering. So if ever you have a raw ingredient like eggs, where heat can cause an immediate change in it. So if you put eggs into, say, egg drop soup, you know that they can gel and the proteins make those bits of egg that float around the egg drop soup. And in that case, that's what you want. But for a custard like this, where you want to have a really smooth result, you don't want to have the eggs essentially scrambling in your hot milk. And so a few of the recipes that I've seen go through a basic step, which is just to add this to the heated milk while constantly whisking, and this just helps prevent it from, I guess, congealing altogether. The true way of tempering is you take a little bit of the hot mixture, and then you pour that into the cold mixture while you're giving it a whisk, and that slightly raises the temperature of the cold mixture, in this case the egg yolks. And then you add all of this back into the big mixture together while whisking constantly, and that can help prevent it from that extra phase change that we're trying to avoid. But right now, I'm just making sure that all of the lumps are broken up in the yolks. This right here is starting to steam, so it's definitely heating up. I want to keep an eye on it because, again, we want to avoid the boiling. As soon as this gets to a point where I think it's really warmed well enough and it's coming closer to that boiling point, we're gonna go in with a spider, just a strainer, to pull the big solid bits out so that they're not in our finished dish. And then from there, temper and move to the ramekins. So I'm gonna go grab my little spider to pull these bits out because it looks like we're just about time for this. Okay, so definitely getting some smaller bubbles here. I'm gonna turn the heat off just to make sure that I don't let it get into the boiling temperatures. And then we're going to pull out. Ooh, it smells amazing. The orange peel, the lemon peel, the cinnamon sticks, and the larger pieces of the vanilla bean pod. And then of course we can leave those little specks of the vanilla bean in there because that's perfect to continue in. Just make sure that we don't have any peel left. Oh, we had a big piece of the pod in there. There was some of the smaller bits of peel that I chose to not include in here at all just because I didn't want to miss out on them in this stage and have that be an unpleasant surprise in the middle of somebody's Crema Catalana. Could have snuck it into Bruce's. All right, so we've got that there. Let's see if I can pull this off. So I am going to take a little bit of the heated milk and I'm going to add it into the egg yolk mixture here. And this is just going to be a little splash of it. You do not want to go too crazy here. But also what you're noticing is that it's not going to become scrambled right there. It's not being a big old hunk of egg now. Then we can take this and let me get our fork out of there. So now I've still got the heat off because I do not want to continue getting this too hot. I don't want it to burn any of the milk or scald it. And then just very slowly add in our egg mixture while constantly whisking. And what we're trying to avoid is any of these big chunks of egg that are gonna want to congeal together and form scrambled eggs. We do not want scrambled eggs in our custard. And I think that we have a success because I am not seeing any curdling and I'm not seeing any lumps in our custard. Right, now I'm going to put it back on a very low heat. And so this is the step where I'm just heating it back up very gently to try and activate that cornstarch. So what we're looking for is for this to go from something very, very liquidy, which it is right now. It looks almost like milk. It's going to thicken up just a touch. We don't want it to be really, really thick, but just a little bit. Once you see that, it's time to pour it into the ramekins and then set. Now, I'm hoping that I've gotten a little bit better about paying attention to the size of the recipe. Paella has taught me a very important lesson there about making sure that what I'm getting into is adequate for the equipment that I'm using. So I have adapted a couple of 6-serving or 6 ramekin recipes down to a 4-recipe one. We're gonna see how well that turns out. But theoretically, this should be good enough for 4 servings. Now, I've made creme brulee before, so I will say that this is less finicky. This might be a really great sort of starting point if you wanted to try something creme brulee-esque, but didn't want to go all in on all of that. But we'll see, because if it's as tasty as, or more tasty, I like the idea of having just a little touch of citrus. One of my favorite creme brulees I ever had was an Earl Grey creme brulee, which is flavored with bergamot. So it was already kind of citrusy, but it definitely didn't have any cornstarch in it, so I'm interested to know texturally how that changes it. Now, as far as when this stage is done, I wasn't able to get any good timings on it, and oftentimes for things like custards, you don't want timings because every appliance is very different. My stove is very different. There have been times where I've had recipes that say, you know, cook between 10 and 15 minutes, and I've needed to go 18. And there's been other times where it says broil for 3 minutes, and I need to broil for 1. Because my broiler wakes up and chooses violence every day. But yeah, I think that what we're looking for is just a noticeable thickening, but you don't want it to become thick. You're looking for just the activation of the starch. So right here, it's not watery anymore. And it's just beyond milk. It's almost like it's approaching cream. And so I'm thinking this is what we're looking for. Because we have the added starch in there to act as a thickener, that's why I think this is a little less finicky than what might be with a creme brulee. But we're gonna see if this is correct. So, should just be portioning out amongst ramekins. Oh, let me put these in a better place. So I am going to try and just apportion this roughly as easily or evenly as I can. These are not the same brand ramekins, although they are the same size. So I don't have any unified measurement marks on them. But I'm thinking about half full, maybe just over. hoping that this turns out to be the most amazing Fruit Loop scented thing in the world. Right, now at the end here, there were some of the vanilla bean seeds in there. There's no issue with eating those, so if you wanted to try and mix them amongst and try and get them to hold in the solution, you can. I'm not gonna try that hard for black specks. They have done their taste job. That's what I wanted. All right. Then these are gonna go into the fridge until firm. It does say optimally, if you wanted to really just plan these out, the best thing to do is make them the day before, set them in the fridge overnight. That way you don't have to worry about how long they need to set for, temperature of the fridge, anything else that's gonna interfere with their ability to set and be done. So I'm gonna throw these in the fridge. I'll check them periodically and then we'll come back to taste them in a few hours, and hopefully they are spectacular. But I think that this is a very approachable recipe, which I appreciate. Let me go grab some saran wrap, cover them up in the fridge. These have been sitting in the fridge for about 4 hours now, which was at the bottom end of the amount of time that it recommended to be in the fridge for. So, a couple of observations already. They don't seem to have custardified. They still seem to be very liquidy. Now, one of the legends that I saw around this dish was that on St. Joseph's Day, some nuns were serving a custard and it was very runny, and in order to fix it, they put a burned sugar topping over the top in order to give it structure. So I'm kind of hoping that this is exactly where we're supposed to be, but we're gonna find out. So a little bit of trusting the process. I'm gonna dust sugar on these two for Bruce and I to try, and give a little bit of a creme brulee topping too. And we're gonna give these a try and see how they are. If it ends up as soup, then the question is, did they need to set for longer, meaning that they needed to sit overnight, in which case I have 2 more to test that on and I'll give an update on it. And if that's not the case, then I think that when it was on low heat and reheating with the cornstarch in there, it just needed to get to a higher temperature. But in any case, that's what the experimentation's for. We're gonna find out. Now, this was the amount used for the entire recipe, so that means that I wanna use about 1/4 of this amount per creme brulee here, or half of it total. I'm gonna do my best. If this is a liquid, it's just gonna kind of go straight into the bottom. This is a liquid, guys. Like, there's no sugar on top anymore. If I put a blowtorch on top of this, I will be heating it back up. I don't think that it's even really worth continuing on in this endeavor at this time. So, quick way that we can test this is I will put these back in the fridge. We'll leave them overnight and see how they turn up, and I'll just have to send some update footage to Bruce and he'll just have to deal with that. And the other option is I'll probably take 2 of them, heat them back up, try and get them to a thicker consistency and put them back in. But experimentation time, because this is not gonna work. I'm just gonna unilaterally say that right now. Unless Bruce wants to try the vanilla citrus soup. Take a sip. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this one has some sugar in it, so let's put this one aside. I can use this one for further experimentation, and we'll use this one to just taste it so that we can at least see where the custard's at. Everything should be at a safe level to eat. Because I made sure it at least got to temperature everywhere, but we'll see how this soup tastes. It'll be great. I'll split this into a couple of containers, and then the other one will go back in the fridge. See you in a few minutes. It is time to try what I am going to absolutely qualify as a failure of Crema Catalana. But I think it's important for us to try the flavor of it so that we know what that's like. And we had 3 ideas for how to potentially rescue the dish. So the first is just let it set for longer, because we were at the very, very baseline 4 hours of what they recommend in any of the recipes. Overnight is kind of the standard. Then the second one is important note, we made 4 of them. One of them we split into 2 ramekins, so we're going to be eating half each of one. There are 3 remaining, one of which is going to be kept overnight. The second, I'm going to heat back up again and try and just heat that up with the cornstarch to try and activate more of the starch, get that back in the fridge with it, leave that overnight so we can kind of compare. And then Bruce wanted to try a third option, which is
freezing it
in the freezer.
In the freezer.
Because this, if you can...
This is a custard soup.
It's a soup! There's no setting at all. None. It's cold.
Bottoms up.
Yeah.
Let's give it a shot. Ooh.
I wish it were set. It's so delicious.
The flavor's really good, but the consistency is kind of like powdery. I wonder if that's the starch that just maybe didn't get activated. So maybe you were right. Maybe it was supposed to heat up further in after you put the starch in and then cool after that. Or maybe I'm totally wrong because I don't cook, so...
And I have no idea necessarily what the texture of cold starch would be. Yeah, because it is a powder when I put it in, of course.
The flavor is delicious, though.
Imagine
My
that.
God,
Imagine that in a custard. With the burned on top.
Honestly,
sugar on top.
flavor-wise, this is way better than the creme brulee I've had.
It's really...
We just need to find a way to turn it into more of a solid and less of a liquid.
Yeah. So, a little bit of troubleshooting to come. Hopefully I'll be able to actually film some of what comes from that, and we'll include that in it. But
Yeah.
Definitely delicious flavor. If you can get this to be more of a solid, I would recommend.
Yeah. The fruit flavors are just they're not overbearing because it's just the peel basically.
But they're present.
But they're
incredibly
present.
present.
So present, but they're so smooth. It's lovely flavor wise.
Mm-hmm. And a little bit of the vanilla, which I think the vanilla is a nice addition. It's not required. There's a lot of recipes that just have the citrus.
It's not even overbearing either. Honestly, I almost forgot the vanilla was there, but now that you mention it, it's like all of it. Almost.
Using vanilla pod, I found, tends to be more subtle. But
yeah, because vanilla could
like
very easily be overbearing, but this is very not. It's really good.
I gave up on treating it like anything other than just a drink.
Yeah, the spoon is not working out well because it's too flat.
So there will be additional updates to come. Hopefully, I can turn this into a super tasty custard like it's supposed to be and show more of that, because it should have an additional textural element where there's the crunch of the sugar, and then there should also be that caramely little tiny bit of bitterness from the caramel on top. Like, that would also add a lot to this.
Yeah.
It's delicious. The flavor alone is spectacular. Yes. But I could see it also being good with those additions.
You know, the bottom of it tastes kind of like Fruit Loops. But like a high-class Fruit Loop.
High-class Fruit Loops.
High-class Fruit Loops dish right there. At the bottom
I feel
where
like it's weird to say name brand Fruit Loops.
Cereal. It tastes like high-class cereal. Super sugary.
All right.
And delicious.
I'm still excited to try whatever I make from these experiments because it's gonna be tasty no matter what.
Truth.
It has been a week since our failed attempt at this. We did have to make a couple of steps to get these to an acceptable level. So I did try setting it overnight. It stayed super liquidy. So because of that, I did not freeze it because I didn't think more or longer cold would help with that. So I did take the extra 2 that I've got here. I put them back on the stove and just heated them back up again until they reached the consistency of, weird way to say this, hot pudding. So a little thicker, but definitely kind of runnier because it was hot, allowed that to set, and now we've got some jiggle, but it's actually more of a custard than a soup. It's still flowing a little bit, but it's set enough that if you take a look at the top here, you can see where there were some bubbles that popped and they actually retained their little bubble crater. So I think it's got enough substance that we'll be able to finish the Crema Catalana, but if you would like more structure or if you would like a denser custard, I think that the easy answer is just to cook it a little bit longer. Having no idea what we were getting into, this is where we're at. So I have got our completed custards here. We've got the sugar that I'm gonna put right over the top. We're gonna brulee them up and then give them an actual taste. Now for this, from when I have tried to make creme brulee in the past, a big thing is you want to try and get an even layer, because otherwise, if there are areas that are thicker, that section of the shell is also going to be thicker, or you will need extra heat to be able to even get it caramelized, and that can end up burning other sections of the topping. So I want to try and get a nice even layer onto this, and then we can use the flame to harden it and get that nice crispy, crunchy top. Now, the amount of sugar that it told me to use for this recipe, I think, would be a little over the top. So I am just going to do a mild layer without going crazy. I don't think I'm going to use all of it because I think that would be too much sugar. So we've got that there. And then for the actual brulee topping, I don't have any tips for this other than you burn the sugar until it's burnt enough. What you'll start to see is there are areas where it beads up a little bit. So I try to move over those. Get a side-to-side motion so that you've got a little bit of coverage to everything. But you can see that it's got this really nice caramelized color that's coming up on top of it. And also this is helping to give some structure to the top, which I think lines up with the story of the nuns who had a really runny custard and wanted it to firm up a bit. So, Now there are kitchen torches that you can use for this that have a little bit more control, are much smaller. I only have a giant propane torch for camping. We're doing what we can do. All right. Now, I would definitely say the rotation of that helped me to maintain more evenness across. I'm not sure if that's enough or too much, but I'm excited to have some Crema Catalana. So let me go grab some spoons, let me go grab a Bruce, and we'll see how this turned out. So we have Crema Catalana, I think. I would say that though there is significantly less soupiness to this one. I would probably do a little bit longer if I were to make them again in the future, just for a little bit more of that custardy texture. But
Okay.
should be able to break the sugar crust on top, and then you want to get a little bit of the caramelized sugar in with a bite of the custard.
This looks way better. Because before it was basically...
We both gave up and
Juice.
drank it.
Yeah. But this is something that you could eat, actually. Still very runny, but like, it's definitely more of a solid than last time.
And the caramelized sugar is so important to the flavor.
Yeah.
It
Kinda
is
makes
not Fruit Loop water anymore.
No. I mean, yeah, it still tastes burnt, but like not in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just makes the flavor evolve past just fruitiness.
And that little bit of crunch from the sugar is a super important textural element. It adds something to it.
Yeah, this is good.
This is really good. Once again, I think next time a little longer, because if it was even thicker, it'd be easier to spoon it out. But
Right. Yeah. You can actually get a spoonful now without it just kind of spilling out over everything.
it's still very smooth, super, super creamy.
Yeah. It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Very fruity.
Which is another major difference from standard creme brulee.
And a week later, I mean, it still pretty much tastes the same except for the burnt part. That gives it the extra, you know.
Yeah, and the scoopability.
Yes. It reminds me of, like s'mores, where like marshmallows, where you melt enough of the outside, so where it's kind of burnt, but like everything on the inside is super gooey. That's what it reminds me of. Not the flavor, but just like that aspect of it.
Right. Where you're counteracting the sweetness with something that would normally be bitter.
By itself, yeah.
Yes, but because it's got such the contrast there, you get this great flavor dichotomy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with that.
Dichotomy.
All right. So, very happy about this because we were able to recover from what would have otherwise been soup.
Abject failure.
Yeah, abject failure.
It tasted delicious, but it's a delicious failure.
Yes, which
The
could have
best
been way worse. Yeah.
It's the best kind of failure.
So yeah, I definitely think I'd be interested in trying this again. I would be really interested to see what would happen if, because this was lemon and orange, but what if it was lime and orange?
That feels like it'd be different.
The tanginess would shift just a little bit, but it's also the zest, the peel instead of the fruit juice, so I don't know. In any case, I do think that this is a great alternative to a creme brulee. It was pretty quick, pretty easy, and there is a little bit of finesse in how long to do the finishing step for, but flavor-wise, came out spectacular.
I like this better than the creme brulees that I've had before.
Okay, yeah.
So,
All right, well, beautiful. Okay, so that was delicious. And then next video that you see will be in India, but conveniently I'll be wearing this shirt because I filmed it an hour ago.
next time.
Catch you next time.